Welcome to the Music for the Soul podcast, where we talk honestly about difficult things. This is a place where music, hope, and healing come together. I'm Becky Nordquist.
And I'm Steve Seiler.
And I'm David Baroni.
Yay!
I love a guest who introduces himself.
Yes, the grand pause. Drum roll, please. No. David, we welcome you today to the show. David Baroni, internationally known Grammy Award-winning songwriter, singer, musician, producer, arranger, conference speaker, recording artist, and worship leader. David has been a songwriter with Integrity Music and is the president of Kingdom Songs. He and his wife, Rita, who I deeply love, have shared in, I believe, 30 nations and 49 states, I heard. His songs have been recorded by Michael W. Smith, Ron Kennelly, Don Moen, Selah, Phil Driscoll, a lot of wonderful artists and people, Natalie Grant. And we're just so pleased to have you with us. He is also a dear friend and mentor for me and a co-write too. So we're just excited to have you here today and hear what God's doing in your life and all that good stuff.
I'm so excited to be with you guys.
Aren't you an author as well?
Well, as a matter of fact, I've written 4 books, The Heart and the Art of Songwriting and Creative in the Image of God are 2 of my latest books. And you forgot one thing, Becky. I'm a grandpa.
Oh, we cannot forget that. And how many? Let's hear it. Let's hear about it.
7 of the cutest grandchildren you've ever seen.
Wow. Oh, I don't know. I have some cute ones.
David, tell me how you and Becky met.
We met at John Chisholm's Nashville Christian Songwriters retreat. Becky was such a blessing and so vivacious and in love with the Lord and people. And we got to work on a song together, and you'll hear more about that later. But we've been friends ever since.
It certainly was an incredible time that weekend that we met for me and kind of helped to alter the course of my life, because quite honestly, that was the song that I sent to Steve after he and I met and really paved the way to the whole Before We Said Hello project. And David, I have to tell you, we talked about a couple of your books, and for songwriters out there, both of them are incredible that you mentioned. But I remember picking up is it The Heart and Art of Songwriting? And that was just a really instrumental book for me as somebody who was really just starting to get serious about writing music. And it just encompassed so much more than just mechanics for me. And I just really enjoyed that. So I would highly recommend that book for sure. And then Creative in the Image of God is a beautiful book as well. But thank you so much for putting that out there. And that weekend, you were just a serious encouragement for my life, and not just in songwriting, but spiritually too. I'm just really, really grateful for you in that realm.
Thank you so much, Becky.
You know what, David, I know in your background, you did some construction way back in the day. And that's a connection we have. My dad was a general contractor, and I can't even hang a picture or hammer a nail straight. So, of course, he wasn't a very good piano player either. So there's that. But anyway, when my dad had his construction company, it was in that time where I was trying to make it as a songwriter, and really wasn't happening. So I needed a little extra income. So my dad hired me. And he gave me a sledgehammer, and he would say, go to this address and knock the back wall off of that house, right? So that was the kind of work, highly skilled work. And he also had me do a lot of construction cleanup. So I would go to the job, and he'd just say, just put all that stuff in the bin, right? On my 30th birthday, I was standing like literally armpit high in construction garbage in one of those bins. And I looked up at the sky and I said, Lord, it has to be uphill from here.
Well, I know who I'm going to call if I have any home improvement. I got 2 guys right at the top of the list. And it's always something to fall back on, maybe, if the whole songwriting thing. Oh, wait, never mind.
How did you get into songwriting? Let's move from the construction industry to your chosen field.
Well, I've always loved music. I grew up in a small town in Mississippi, Natchez, Mississippi. And my siblings, I was the 5th of 6. listened to all kinds of music. I started playing piano, took piano lessons when I was 5. And my older brother, Neil, was a jazz pianist. He's 16 years older than I am. So I grew up listening to all kinds of music
Mm-hmm.
and loved music. So when I was a teenager, I got my first rock band when I was 12 as a singer, and then picked up the bass along with playing piano. I don't read music. I play by ear, or as we say in Mississippi, I play by heart. I like that.
Oh, I like that. I
Love
like
it.
that better.
Anyway, so I wrote love songs when I was 15 or 16 and ended up going to 1 year of college. I jokingly say that I graduated after only 1 year.
Something else we have in common.
And after my 1 year of college, where I majored in jazz music, was looking for the Lord. I just didn't know that's who I was looking for. I ended up working for this band called Fancy Music. I joined them in Detroit, Michigan. When I was 18, I turned 19 on the road, and for a year and a half traveled around. Anyway, long story short, I ended up working at a recording studio in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, Fame Studios. One of my claims to fame is I played on Bill Haley's last album. I was a 21-year-old piano player at the time, so I'm actually listed as one of the Comets because I played on that recording.
Nice. Little known facts.
That's true. I was searching. I was a pothead. I loved music. I walked around the corner for lunch one day at a Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant, and I found God in KFC. He was working there through a young lady that not only knew about Jesus. I had religion. I knew about Jesus, but I didn't have a relationship with God. And I didn't know that I didn't really know the Lord. I thought religion was enough. And yet there was something empty in my life. And so when I met this young lady, she was very impressive. She looked real cute in her Kentucky Fried Chicken uniform and got my order right. And she talked about Jesus like she knew him or something, because she did. And she invited me to her church, and the Lord just got a hold of my heart and changed my life. I didn't want to smoke pot anymore. And so I quit the studio scene. I felt like I needed to do that. Moved back to my hometown and did little for months except read the Bible every day. Stayed with my parents. I wrote a couple of songs, and I was actually, Steve and Becky, I was frustrated because I didn't know what to do with my life. And I remember walking by the Mississippi River. Our town's on the river there. And the Lord impressed me to give thanks anyway, even though I didn't see anything happening. So I did in faith. I just started thanking the Lord for saving me, for being with me, and for giving me trust that the future is going to be okay. When I got back home, I got a phone call from a producer in Nashville. I had sent a couple of my songs to a friend of mine who let Gary S. Paxton hear a couple of my songs. And long story short, took the bus up to Nashville because I didn't have a car. Gary ended up producing my first album. And we thought it'd be done in like 2 months. And he said, I have friends in Christian TV, and you'll be a star for Jesus. I thought, well, somebody's got to do it. That 2 months turned into 2 years. And in the meantime, I had a talk with my future mother-in-law. Oh, by the way, I ended up marrying the KFC girl. That was Rita.
So great.
We just celebrated 42 years, our wedding anniversary just a few weeks ago. So I had a talk with my future mother-in-law, and she said, you know, there are guys that would work 3 jobs to be with Rita. Why don't you get a job, basically, she said, and maybe God will bless this music thing. So I took the bus back from Alabama where we were visiting, and I got jobs at 2 fast food restaurants just like that. Worked the night shift at one of them and the lunch rush at the other. And after a while of that, I really learned that Jesus is in the real world. And it was really good for me because all I knew was music before that. So after graduating from fast food, I got hired as a concrete laborer. I didn't even know what a 2x6 was. So I can relate to not being able to hang a picture, Steve. And I worked with some guys at our church, and I did concerts every now and then, youth concerts and things. The album got finished. I was hesitant to go full time in music ministry, but a pastor friend of mine gave me some wisdom. He said, David, why don't you go full time for 2 years? And at the end of that time, evaluate and see if God blessed it. And that just made a lot of sense to me. And so Rita and I, when our oldest daughter, Bethany, was 3 weeks old, we got in our car and hit the road. And I've been traveling itinerant ministry, except for 3 years as a worship pastor. I've been traveling ever since. And so it was good advice. And I did enjoy the concrete work because I slept really well at night.
Amen.
That would do it. Okay, so this is the burning question. I mean, that first of all, I have to say that is such a beautiful story. And I'm so glad that you married that cute girl from the KFC for so many reasons. But original or extra crispy is all I can think about right now. I'm kidding.
Extra crispy with baked beans instead of slaw.
Okay. Now, does Rita agree?
Well, we don't eat that way anymore, but
Did she agree?
yes.
Oh, well, that is incredible. And, I never grow weary of hearing the story of someone really finding Jesus. And I have to say that that is something that is so evident with you both, that you really know Jesus. So tell me about what would you consider to be your first big break in the songwriting world?
That's a great question. Actually, a song from that first album, Soldier of the Light, was recorded by Indris Blackwood and Company, a CCM group at the time. And it entered the CCM charts at #1 and stayed there for 6 months.
That's amazing.
I think so too. And so that opened up some doors for me to be a songwriter for word music. And I co-wrote a lot with a guy named Niles Borup. We wrote a song called He Is Here that several people have recorded. But Soldier of the Light, I guess, was the catalyst for that. I will tell you that one night, Rita and I, by this time we had 3 daughters and still do, and they're all married with giving us those grandchildren. But when they were young, we were singing at a church in Alabama, and it was a Saturday night. And so then we got in the van and we had to drive a couple of hours to the next place for a Sunday morning ministry time. So everybody else in the family was asleep in the van. And I complained to the Lord. I said, God, I know you've given me these songs. How come more people haven't heard them? And I heard the Lord speak to me, not in an audible voice. It was louder than that. He said, David, I'm going to open up doors for ministry for you that you haven't dared to dream about or ask me for. But you're going to be so in love with me that those doors won't be too important to you. And so the Lord has been so kind over the years to help me to place success in its proper perspective. And real success is knowing that Jesus loves me and that He's my life. I live, yet not I, but Christ lives in me. And I'm so grateful for all the doors the Lord has opened. And it's true. I didn't dream about ministering in Lagos, Nigeria in front of 500,000 people at once, or getting to meet some of the people I've gotten to meet. It's been quite an adventure so far, and it continues.
Becky, I can't imagine a better introduction for us to play a little bit of the song You're With Me than what David just shared. Let's do that.
I can't see you, I don't feel you, I can't hear you anymore. Are you listening? Do you see my tears? My heart is shattered on the floor. I've always believed you'd never leave my side. Is it true Can I trust you through the darkest night? You're with me, you're for me. You love me and you'll never let me go. You're with me, you're for me. You love me and you'll never let me go.
Okay, Becky, we got a little bit of the story on how David might come to write a song called You're With Me, but why don't you tell us what that song meant to you?
Well, I came down to Nashville at the prompting of John Chisholm to come to his NCS intensive for songwriting. And that's where David and I met. And I was in his group for critique and work. And that song was born out of a place where, my husband Dave and I call 2 years of death, where we had 5 pregnancy losses. We had our stillborn baby. After that, my friend died suddenly of a massive heart attack in my basement and I couldn't revive her. My father-in-law died. My mother died. My brother died. And we found ourselves laying in bed, just crying out to God, going, did we do something wrong? Where are you, Lord? And it was at that crisis of faith. He was so gentle and just kind of like David said, it's like he meets you in those moments and he walks with you and he becomes so much bigger than a religion, but he becomes everything. He, in that moment for Dave and I, Christ really got so intimate and real for us. And he met us and we knew that he was with us and he was for us. And that, while we were in just devastating pain, we had a savior that held us together. And so that's kind of what You're With Me was born out of. It was born out of a lot of death, but the hope that only Jesus can bring. I've searched everywhere else, and I had at that point. I'd looked for every other place of comfort, but Jesus was the only solid hope that I could put my feet on. And so, yeah, it was just that reminder of You're with us. You never let us go no matter what happens. And so I really believe it was the Spirit of God that placed me with David. It was funny because John was announcing all the different groups that we might be placed in. I was like, oh, please let it be David. Please let it be David. Because I knew just enough. I'm like, I just have this feeling I need to be with him. And then he let us know. I'm like, yeah. I was so excited. So.
And when I first heard the beginning of the song, Steve, it was Becky sang a part that she called the bridge, and she was thinking about throwing that part away. And that me and the guy that was working with us, we both looked at each other and said, that's the chorus right there.
I remember that. You guys flipped it. It was so masterful and it was really good practice for me to learn to not stay married to your song. Be willing to let it go and find wings. It was so good.
And that's the essence of collaboration right there. Sometimes you have a jewel and you don't even know that you do, forest for the trees, where somebody else can listen and have a completely different perspective. You guys were moved and recognized that's something special. And she was ready to move off of it.
Yeah, it was a little bit jolting. I'm like, I hadn't heard that before, but then I think you sat at the keyboard, David, and you played it out that way. And I went, oh yeah, that's exactly what this needs for sure. It was a beautiful moment for me as a newbie.
It's a wonderful song. And one of the reasons it's so powerful is because it comes from a place of suffering. And I've been walking through a journey diagnosed with Parkinson's about 3.5 years ago. And I'm still waiting for my healing and doing all I know to do. But in the meantime, God has just given me some really special times with him and some special songs. A long time ago, I wrote a song, He is Strong. He is strong so you don't have to be. You will find the strength you seek and the courage to be weak. So let go, rest in your Father's arms, because when you're weak, he is strong. And I've sung that song all over the world. But most of the time, you guys, I've sung it from a place of feeling strong. But lately, I'm singing it from a place of weakness, and it has a whole deeper meaning for me. There was another song right after the diagnosis. I was having a time of worship, just me and the Lord. And the Lord began to sing to me using my voice. Sit a while, weary child, just be here with me. Stop and rest, catch your breath, keep me company. In the quiet of this moment, all your cares are gone. We can talk or just be still. My child, my friend, welcome home. And so when I feel weak, when I get tired more easily, when I can't sleep as well as I'd like, when my hand shakes and I can't play the piano like I used to, I can still play, thank God. I'm just amazed at what the Lord told the Apostle Paul, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in your weakness. It's one thing to hear it, it's another thing to live it. And I'm so grateful for God's grace.
And I'm thankful for your testimony, David. I remember you released that song, and that song has been just a reminder that it's okay to just rest at times and allow yourself to walk through what you're walking through. And that He is just so present, and He is the strength when we have none.
You know, when I heard Sit a While, I got more excited about having you on the podcast with us, because I thought if ever I heard a song that captures for me the essence of what we're trying to do with Music for the Soul, Sit a While would be that kind of song. I mean, we have a lot of songs about brokenness. And what we're trying to share with people is that you are not alone. Christ will meet you where you are. He's a compassionate Lord. He's a loving Lord. He's a healing Lord. And so I feel like in that song, you're encapsulating so many of the things that we try to share with folks. So I'm really excited to be able to point people to that song who are listening today.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm honored.
And you understand and grasp, as I've just witnessed your testimony too, David, it's just that place of that He is the refuge. He is alive and living through you, even in the difficult spaces and places where humanly it's not possible. Through the Spirit of God, it is.
That's right. I was in Singapore, and I told the people that were gathered in this worship conference, I said, I've always looked for the right encounter with God that I can say, I'm glad that's over, or the right financial situation, or the right circumstances that I can find rest. And then I said, but I'm coming to realize that there's only one place of rest, and it's a person. It's Jesus.
Amen.
You know, as I listen to you talk about your travels, I suspect that whereas, you know, people would ask you about your career and think you might talk about, you know, winning the Grammy or meeting somebody famous that we all know, I suspect that the highlight of your career is something other than that. I wonder if there's some special moment from your years of ministry and music that you could share.
There are so many. Comes to mind is in Jakarta, Indonesia, being in this worship conference that people found out about, and all of a sudden we had to go to overflow rooms because there were so many people that wanted to be a part of this. And just to see the earnestness, the passion that these believers have, many of them in very difficult circumstances, has been very encouraging to me. I will tell you a story that's a little humorous to me. I was in Athens, Greece. We had flown in and went straight from the airport to the worship conference. And by this time I was exhausted, but I was one of the leaders of the conference, and I always try to be nice, but there's a special pressure I felt as being a leader in the conference to just be nice to people. But I didn't feel like being nice to people. I was tired. I couldn't wait to get the session over with so I could go to the hotel and crash. So finally the session was over, and I'm walking backstage. It was in a kind of a theater building. And I'm thinking, at last I can be by myself. I love people, but I need my alone time too. Just ask Rita. So I was thinking, at last I can be by myself. I can go to the hotel and crash. And then I saw this guy out of the corner of my eye. So I was going to be nice to him. I waved at him and he waved back because it was me. It was my reflection in a mirror.
That's tired.
At least I was nice to myself.
There you
Well,
go.
I was going to say, so you were nice to yourself and you allowed that guy to go back to the hotel and take a rest?
Yes. And I told this Greek pastor about him. He just had this high pitched laugh. He just thought that was so funny.
So
But it's also a serious thing. I think a lot of the times the people that we're hardest on are ourselves.
absolutely.
And as children of God, we're beloved and we need to hold ourselves accountable. Yes. And you make the right choice to be nice to people, but still to remember that one of the people we should be nice to is ourselves. Because if we're not nice to ourselves, we won't be nice to anybody else.
That's right. That's a good point, Steve.
So good. So good. Very reflective.
Well, I am a professional thinker.
Here I just had a great question and it is so gone because I'm so excited about the joke I just made about being reflective.
No, there is somebody that I know that on their business card, they have their name and then underneath it just says thinking. You hired this person to think.
Wow.
All right. So ever
Wow.
since then, I've been trying to get that gig. Nobody will hire me for it though.
I'm thinking I'd love that gig. I could think all day. In fact, I do.
Exactly. You got a lot of experience at it, right?
There you go. I'm an idea girl for sure. David, we have listeners that are walking paths that are unbelievable. And, at any given moment, our lives, as you know, can take a hairpin turn. And I just wonder if you would have some words of encouragement for them today.
Sure. First of all, for those that are around them, resist the temptation to feel like you have to give an answer. Sometimes just being with somebody and sit with them in their pain is more than any of the words that we can say. And when we see somebody that's going through a tough time, it's natural to want to fix it, especially us guys. So I want to encourage those of you that are just really wondering if God knows you're there. If he does know, does he care? The answer is a resounding yes. And I just pray somehow that he will give you the grace to be encouraged and know that Jesus really is with you in your suffering, and there is an ultimate healing for you. It may come soon, it may come later, but there is ultimate healing and ultimate grace for you. And so I just pray that the spirit of comfort will encourage your heart and let you know how loved you are and that God is with you.
Mhm. And if you want more encouragement like that and to hear and to read more things and hear more music, where is the best place to find your books and more free about you and Rita?
Well, the books, you can order them from our website, davidbaroni, baroni.com, or on Amazon. The music, again, the website, and also on every streaming platform and downloading from iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon. Just enter David Baroni in the search and you'll find a couple of different categories of music. I did a Quiet Place instrumental hymns series. It's four piano CDs or projects that very peace-filled my interpretation of well-loved hymns. And then there are the vocal CDs or projects, The Wild and the Wonder. The newest one is called Songs of Rest. That would be a good one. But again, streaming platforms and just enter my name in the search. I also have a lot of YouTube videos that are song lyric videos or even live stuff. So you can find me on the net.
Love it. And I have to say, I love your instrumentals for quiet time. And if you just need to be with Jesus, they usher in this beautiful anointing. And I just they are wonderful songs to worship and rest to. So thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been my pleasure. It's great to be with you guys. And let's do it again sometime.
Thank you, David.
If you enjoyed our discussion today, please share it with a friend and give us a positive review on iTunes.
And please visit our website, musicforthesoul.org, where you can stream or download every song in our catalog, including You're With Me, read our lyrics, our healing music guide, our blog posts, and much more. Thank you for listening, and God bless.
I can't see you, I don't feel you, I can't hear you anymore. Are you listening? Do you see my tears? My heart is shattered on the floor. I've always believed you'd never leave my side. Is it true? Can I trust you through the darkest night? You're with me, you're for me. You love me and you'll never let me go. You're with me, you're for me. You love me and you'll never let me go. Hope was lost, my dreams were dead, as if my prayers had been ignored. But you heard me and you lifted me. Now my faith has been reborn. Oh, I know that you never left my side. And I cling to this truth deep in my soul tonight. You're with me, you're for me. You love me and you'll never let me go. You're with me, you're for me. You love me and you'll never let me go. You go before me, you are behind me. Your love surrounds me, you're always near. You are above me, you walk beside me. Jesus who saves me. Oh, I will not fear, 'cause you didn't